All right, everyone. Well, I have 201, so I'm going to go ahead and get things started. My name is Jessie Vernon. You all have been receiving emails from me. I am a program coordinator with the Institute for Advanced Learning and Research in Danville, Virginia. I'm also the Danville Hub Manager for Code Virginia and a CSTA member, so hence why you're getting CSTA emails from me. This is the second in our three-part webinar series for the CSTA kickoff events. So this will be Get Started with Scratch. We have one more remaining, I think on June 10th, is that right? And that will be on Finch robots. And then following that, there's some other wonderful CS training opportunities available over the summer. Both the CSTA National Conference is being held online in July, as well as Code Virginia's teacher professional development. There are one-day sessions available. There are multiple day cohorts that will run and support you throughout the school year. So if you are looking for further opportunities for CS PD, I would highly recommend that you visit the Code Virginia website. With that, I am going to kick things over to today's facilitator, Allison Kepler, with Code Virginia and Lynchburg City Public Schools.
Yay, awesome. Thank you. Sorry, my name says Rebecca, but I'm not Rebecca. I'm Allison Kepler. I am going to share my screen and we'll get started. Oh, and actually I was going to paste this in the chat for you real quick too. Let me do that. Okay. So the bit.ly to this presentation is in the chat, and you are welcome to just save it for later or follow along with us. I'm going to be kind of hopping in and out of the presentation and then into the actual Scratch platform to just throughout the session. Feel free throughout, if you have questions, you can throw them in the chat and we will either you can stop me or I'll look at them in a little bit. So today, our goals, we are going to cover the basics of Scratch. So what is Scratch? I'm going to do a little bit about just coding in general, why code, why have your students code, and then we're going to go through the ins and outs of Scratch, just logging in, the basic parts and some of the coding basics too, and then we'll have a little short time for you to try something out as well. And then we're going to talk about some classroom ideas and use, and I have a few examples of things that I've done in the classroom and things that I've found useful kind of diving into this whole Scratch in the platform or in the classroom platform. So what is Scratch? So it's a free website that was developed by MIT, and it's block-based coding language. So, and the next slide will kind of explain that a little bit more. It's really useful. I've used it as low as 2nd grade and then up through middle school. You can use it through high school, but by that time they're kind of ready for something else. But with Scratch, you can create stories, interactive games, animations, art, music, songs, basically let your imagination take control and you can do it in Scratch. So the cool thing about it is once you create an account, you can share, you can choose whether or not you want to share your projects publicly, or you can just share a link with people that you know. And then through that, you can also find other projects. And I love using this aspect of it, finding other people's things that they've created. And then the great part about it is that you can see inside and see the code that they used to put their program together. And then obviously have fun creating with it. So why have our students code? This is just a little brief part that I wanted to add in. So coding is great for logical thinking skills. You have to think through, what do I need to do first? Then what do I want to happen? Systematic reasoning, they're kind of going through step by step. It fosters their creativity because it's endless. The opportunities of things that you can do and things that you can create are endless. So I like having a place for students to start, but then kind of just letting them take control and take it where they want. I like more open-ended projects, but I'll show you some of the two options in a little bit. Perseverance. Coding is great for teaching your students that it's okay to fail, creating that environment in your classroom where they feel comfortable failing, but then pushing through, teaching them how to overcome these obstacles that they come across. Because if you have delved into coding at all, you'll see that there are obstacles frequently. And then collaboration, it makes it super easy to be able to work together, have students collaborate with each other, creating projects. And then you can apply things to any content area. And those are some of the examples I'm going to show you later too, how you can take it into the math classroom or the science classroom. So here are the different stages of learning to code. I talked a little bit about this Blockly. So the one in the middle, Blockly, is what Scratch is based off of. So this is code written in Scratch. It's block-based coding, but you can see it uses some words. So that's why we say kind of 2nd grade through 8th grade it's best for. But if we go down to symbols, there's also a Scratch Junior that you can get as an iPad app. And it is just all symbols. They don't really need to learn how to read in order to start coding. So you can start with that part and then move them up to Scratch Blockly coding. And then this is what real code would look like. And if you notice that all of these 3 sets of code tell the computer to do the same thing. So it's all move 10 steps. It just looks a little bit different. Move forward 10, turn right 15, and then say hello. So you can see that they've made it really easy to be able to kind of flow from one to the next level while you're learning how to code. So let's get started with the actual Scratch platform. The rest of the time we're going to be, I'll be flipping back and forth and jumping into Scratch itself. So the web address is scratch.mit.edu. And then there's 2 options to join or sign in. If you've already created an account, then you will just sign in. But if you have not yet, then you'll want to join. It's a free account. And I'm going to give you a few seconds now to navigate to that and create an account if you haven't already. And then I will kind of look at our chat and see how we're doing. Throw something in there if you have a question. So take a minute now to get into Scratch. Okay, so hopefully you have made it and signed in. I do want to do a little brief FYI here. When you create a free account, it is a just regular open free account. But what you can do is upgrade your account to an educator account, and that gives you a few little added features. So I would highly recommend that you do this. It lets you help create student accounts. You then have studios where you can organize their projects or your projects even into, folders, and then you can also monitor student comments. You do have to add a request, and then it takes them about a day to process. I think it took mine a few days for them to upgrade it to an educator account, but then you have some other tutorials and basics that are available to you as well if you do that. So I linked the form on here. You can also have access then to this educator resource page, which is great. It gives you student tutorials, which honestly, when I was learning Scratch, I watched the student tutorials because they're really simple, quick little videos that show you exactly how to do the basics, which we're going to go over today, but that's there as well. So definitely go to those educator resources and upgrade your account to an educator account. So once you get into Scratch, you will click on the Create button. And let me get caught up here with you. So Create is right up at the top. If anytime you get kind of lost in the Scratch world, you can always click on that Scratch logo and that will take you back to the home page as well. My internet is really slow today. So after you click Create, it then jumps you into your work area. So let's go over the basics of the different parts of this workspace that you have. So over on the left side, we have our actual coding blocks, and then we have the menu. And then in the center, you have your scripts area, which is where you're going to snap your code together, and I'm going to show you that in a second. And I like to call it the workspace. And then over on the right side, this area is, we can see our sprite that we have right now, which is Scratch's name for a character. But this is the stage area where you'll see everything come together, and once you start adding your code, that's where you see him do his actions over there. And then this area is where you'll edit your sprite, which is a character. And then this is your backdrop area where you can modify your backdrops and add one if you don't have one. So we are going to go through all of these parts that I just talked about, and I'm just going to do the basics of how to get started, adding a backdrop, adding a sprite. We're going to go through some of the basic blocks, and then I'm going to touch on costumes and sounds as well. So after you hit that Create button, you have a blank slate. You always have our little cat friend as a default sprite. So first we're going to start over here on the right side and talk about adding the backdrop and adding a sprite. So if you hover your mouse over these two buttons, then it gives you extra menu options. If you go ahead and click on it, then it's going to show you backdrop options that are already built into Scratch, which is also the same as clicking this little magnifying glass. So you can easily grab one of these backgrounds that they have. Say I want to go to the beach. And when you click on it, it adds it to your stage and it sets it as your backdrop. Pretty simple. You can also use the paint button to customize one that you have already added or create your own. So now I'm over here in this editing tool and I can click back on my beach and I can add something to the backdrop if I want, like an umbrella. I could paint a little umbrella here. Woo, so pretty. Or you can edit and create your own background. So you could, if you don't find one that you like, you can let students create their own. Or I also like this option. If you click the surprise, it just kind of throws a random backdrop in there and you can keep shuffling through them. Click out of that part. So that's what the surprise feature is. It takes one built in, or you can upload a backdrop that you have or you found from a Google search that you have saved on your computer. You know, those virtual classrooms that people are creating now. I grabbed one that looks kind of like a virtual classroom. So, and this is was a simple Google image search that I saved this image to my computer so then I could upload my own. So these same buttons that you have for customizing your backdrop, you also have for customizing your sprite. They have some built in that you can search through. Or you can upload your own. Just remember, when you download an image from Google, you want to have a transparent background so you're not seeing like Santa Claus and a black square around him. So that's one key when you're looking for something. But let's add Abby to our background. And then I can move her to where I want her start position to be. So you can see I now have two sprites on my background. I have two sprites here. And then in this workspace area is where I'll be editing code or adding code for each sprite. So right now, because Abby is selected down here, I see her little logo up here. That means that I'll be adding code for Abby. Or if I click on the cat, then this area will be the code for the cat. So that's how you can add multiple and edit multiple sprites at the same time. You can change their name, you can change the size of them. If you play with these numbers a little bit, you can just type a number in and then hit enter and he got bigger. Or you can make him super small. And then you can also play with your axes, your x-axis and your y-axis for their position, or I like just clicking and dragging around as well. Okay, so those are basics of adding your sprites. Now, the main part, the meat. So here's our workspace. We have not added any code yet. Here are our menu options for different blocks that we can add. And I love that they have color coded these. This is really helpful. So if you know that a certain block you're looking for is an event block, you can click on it and it jumps down, or you can scroll down all through the list of all different ones. So I think their menu is super useful. The progression of these, it kind of goes increasingly, it gets a little bit more complex to use. So I would recommend for the beginning, starting by focusing on the first 4 or 5 categories. And then once you get used to Scratch and, kind of visualizing what you want things to do and seeing different options, then I would start adding in some of those other sensing and operator buttons. So I'm going to just do a basic. I want Abby to, I'm going to kick out my little cat. I'm going to just click the little trash can to get rid of him. So I'm going to get Abby to do some simple movements first. So any block that you see that you'd like to add, you just click and drag it over into your workspace. There we go. So I want her to move 10 steps. Anytime you see a little circle, you can change or edit the number in there. And there's some other blocks where you can add other other little circle blocks that fit inside of the code to make it more specific. So we're going to start by having her move 25 steps. So another thing that you always need to add is an event block. These event blocks help this code know how to get triggered. So when do I want her to move 25 steps? That's an easy thing to ask yourself. It's easy to add the when the green flag is clicked block. And then here's my little green flag. And you can at any time watch to see how she moves. So then I can edit this, say I want her to go a little bit farther. And then you can click your green flag again to watch her move. Or you can code different buttons to give her different movements. So I could say when I hit, right now it says when the space key is pressed, then figure out what you want her to do. Let's look at these looks blocks. These ones are also easy beginner blocks to start using. So say hello for 2 seconds. So I can click and drag it over, and then I can customize what I want her to say. Say, my name is Abby. And then you can change the length of how long her message will appear. So I'm going to click space on my keyboard, and then she says it. So you can see how programming different keys or different buttons on your keyboard, this drop down gives you all the options. You can see now how they make some of those basic like Pac-Man games so that it knows which direction to go when you click the up arrow, which direction to go when you click the left and right arrows. So I want to give you a chance to kind of get used to these little beginning blocks and just play in the workspace for a second. So what I would like you to do, I don't know who all we have on here. Here's what we're going to do to try it. So I'd like you to introduce yourself. So you'll choose a backdrop, you'll choose a sprite, and feel free to be as creative as you want to be or as non-creative as you want to be as well. So you can choose a backdrop that's already there. You can upload your own, completely up to you. So just tell us your name, tell us what you teach, and then let us know how you're feeling about Scratch. And try to use at least 3 different types of blocks. So remember, you need to have that event block and then use maybe the say block that I showed you to have your character, your sprite, say your name. Okay? All right, so I'm going to have this little timer going. If you have questions from anything that we've covered so far, feel free. I'm going to spend my time monitoring chat, and if you have questions about what you're doing, we're going to just play for 10 minutes so that then we can see what questions you still have about these super basic functions.
Don't want to interrupt anyone's workflow, but I was going to say, I think you all do have the ability to unmute yourselves. So if you find it easier to just unmute rather than trying to pop something in the chat while you're trying to work in Scratch and popping back and forth, please don't be shy. We're all here to learn from each other. So just ask away.
We are at the 5-minute mark, so hopefully you're rolling with it. Let us know if you have questions. So I messed up our timer and accidentally went to the next slide. So we have 2 minutes left.
Hello.
Hi.
When I click my Sprite, "Hello, my name is" comes up, but is it supposed to say it?
It doesn't say it out loud. It shows
Uh-huh.
it as a speech box.
Okay, now I told him to turn 720 degrees, and he didn't move. So what happens?
So did you snap that block onto your other ones?
Yep.
Okay. I'm not sure.
I thought he would turn around twice.
Yeah.
I have the vent block. He says he turns around and he says something. So
All right. But he's not turning.
right, I have the yellow, blue, and purple.
Okay.
And on
You
the
wanna
blue comes right after the event, correct? The motion?
Either order. Yes, both of them could come after your event block in either order. Jesse, did you have something to say?
I was just gonna say, I mean, if you're up for it, we could screen share.
Yeah. Do you want to share your screen?
Okay. Let me see if I can find Zoom. Okay.
Everybody else, you can feel free to put your finishing touches on yours or watch and help us troubleshoot, debug.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Nice. All right.
And so when I do this, that comes up, but it doesn't turn.
What if you change your, just change it to like 90 degrees and let's see what it does.
We used to use these with robotics, so that's
Yeah.
all right. Got it at 90. Let's see. So it might be limited to. Wow, I got to do something different. I didn't want him to do that. I wanted him to go motion.
I also wonder, since the 720 is technically 2 full circles, if it
Correct.
just, you know, the turn, if it did the turns, but since you end up back where you started, it just kind of doesn't appear like it had turned, maybe.
Yeah, what if you add 4 90-degree turns? Then you'd see him slowly.
That's a good way to do it.
We're getting into math integration right now.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So while he's working on that, I love this.
Somebody else can share the screen.
Does anybody want to, you can just verbally share, or if you want to be brave and share your screen, is anyone a brave soul and want to talk through yours or share with us what you came up with?
All right. These don't seem to be activated when you click the when I click this flag. The turn motions don't seem to be activated.
Interesting. Well,
But I understand the principle.
good. You can see how quickly it becomes a, whoops. You can see how quickly it becomes a problem-solving activity. Brandon Jones said he has noise in the background, but he'll share his screen. Go ahead, take it away. And I'll try to talk through it from what we see on your screen. And then after he shares, if nobody else wants to share, then we can keep rolling. I do want to show you some examples that I think will make things come to light a little bit. All right, so here comes Brandon. Awesome, okay. Cool. Hey, thanks so much. So he used some say blocks, some motion blocks. He went to, notice he used the random position block over there, and the dog just kind of went to the most random places on the screen. Cool. Thanks, Brandon. Nice to meet you. And then let's see, Amanda. If you find in your Zoom settings on your control panel, you can find the green screen share button, and that's how you share it. And then you'll have to choose the window that you want to share and then click the blue button. Or Alan, if you want to go ahead while she's looking for that.
I can go ahead. Sorry, that's my husband's name. My
Oh,
name's
sorry. I didn't even.
okay. I don't know why it shows up. All right. All right. Let's move you back.
Awesome. Thanks.
I was also trying to figure out how to make him spin, and I just could not figure it out. So,
All right, so that's on our to-do list to play with the spin feature. All right, Amanda, do you want to try to share? If not, we can keep rolling, but we would love to see yours if you're able to. Yay, it's loading. Okay. Oh, so she's used some keys. Awesome. So hang on just a second, Amanda. I want to make sure that they see. So she used one of the ask box, and you saw a little box pop up. So she asked, "What's your name?" And then it waited for us to type a response in. Obviously, we can't do that. But that's another cool one that she jumped into. Yay. Thank you so much. I am going to, if you'll unshare, then I can jump back into sharing. So the next part that I want to get into is talking about classroom use and showing you some examples that I hope will be really helpful to you. Obviously, we barely scratched the surface with our Scratch section right then. So Scratch really just takes a lot of playing. And honestly, a few years ago when I started learning, I found a project, which actually I'm going to show you, one of the first projects that I had some second graders do. And I didn't know a lot. I figured out the basics of how to kind of give them brief directions. And then we problem solved as we went along, and I was shocked. I was really nervous to do this lesson with them, but I was shocked how well they did. And they taught me parts about it. There were, you know, you'll have a handful of kids that are just, it's how their brain works and they're able to just fly with it, even in second grade. So I was really pleased. So actually, let's look at that one first. So I have some of these examples pulled up of ones that I've done first, and then I'm going to show you how to find some other resources. So this one is what we did for second grade. They learn about all the continents and then all the ocean names. So we did continents, and then if there were about 3 kids out of a class that were going so quickly and being so creative that they went into the oceans as well. So basically it's just a tour around the continents, and it uses those basic blocks that we just looked at, just position blocks and say blocks. So a very basic level 1 to do. But what I love about Scratch too, that I mentioned earlier, is that this is a project that I created, but it's something that you can find other projects, and then you can click this See Inside button if they've shared it publicly, so that then it will open up and you can see all of the code that they use to put it together. So this is a great learning tool as well. If you see something and you're like, I wonder how they did that, then you can see it all right here. So again, that was second grade, and I created a class and had them share that way. And it just made the workflow a lot easier. I'm going to go back to another one. Come on, there we go. This project, nope, here we go. Okay, this is an idea, just a starter. 4th graders learn about the regions of Virginia. So same idea of traveling the continents. They can travel to the different regions of Virginia. So just another quick, easy idea. This one is just the basic background and sprite already chosen, but then you could share it with them and let them code it, or you can let them upload their own map if you like. I think it might be easier to start with a map for them. And then we have a water cycle. So this is one that I did with some 4th and 5th graders just as a review activity, but traveling through the water cycle. So anything that you can think of that's a process that students are learning steps for is a really easy one to transfer into the Scratch world and have them show you what they know through Scratch. Okay, so we can watch this little guy travel, but I'm gonna jump out and go to, okay, so also within Scratch, they have some starter projects there for you that you can just let students explore in the starter projects if it's, you know, extra time, or you can grab these, like I said, to figure out how they put that part together and then add more to it. So starter projects basically give you a backbone and then you can add to them. So you can edit them as your own. So all you have to do is click into them, and then you'll be in that familiar workspace area, or maybe not so familiar yet, but soon to be familiar. So here's the project. And anytime you see this remix button, It basically means that you can, oh, there we go. When I hover over it, it tells us you can save it as your own to be able to edit. And then see inside lets me jump inside to that workspace area to see the code that they've added so far. So those are the starter projects that you can just scroll through. It's kind of one of those black hole things as a teacher that once you start scrolling and finding things, I would just save them and put them in your back pocket for ideas for later. But I also wanted to share a website that actually Henrico ITRTs created that a few years ago they shared it. It hasn't been updated recently, but I still think it's a great tool because they break down by SOL. You come over here, you can click on a grade level. It's only elementary, sorry, middle school teachers, but it still might be helpful to get some ideas. But this is where I found the idea for that continents and oceans project that I did with second graders. But they have the SOL that it's tied to listed, which maybe has changed by now, but it's still probably similar. And then you can see their sample project right within this window. And then you can also go to it and see inside. And then what I did was I learned from their code and then created my own starter with the map for the students to use. And then they got to choose their sprite that they wanted. So anyway, that's another great resource for you to be able to come and search by SOL. So thank you if any Henrico people are listening. So some other resources that I've found helpful. This is actually a Tinker rep, so another coding program, but he created this awesome hyperdoc. He actually came to our Lynchburg City Schools Techstravaganza conference last year and shared this. And it's one of those things that I kept to go back to. And when I was planning for this, I was like, wow, what an awesome resource. It's 18, I think, pages. And you can see just ideas listed for each content area. But then towards the bottom, it gives you specific projects. So plants, parts of corn, you can then click on it and it will show you what they created. Now he did use obviously Tinker instead of Scratch, but these can easily be brought into the Scratch world to replicate. So I just thought it was a great place for you to be able to, if you're a science teacher, go to the science ones, find ideas for how then you can use the integration ideas in your room. And then Harvard also has part of their website devoted to cross-curricular Scratch projects. So you can click to see samples here. So definitely check that one out as well. And like I said, try not to be too afraid if you are not the expert. It's okay, especially nowadays, to let students know, here's the idea. I'm not the expert, but I'm ready for you to teach me something new. And just showing them an example and then letting them roll with it. And then the last part that I added here is tutorials and starter projects within Scratch. So we talked about the starter projects a little bit, and then at the beginning I mentioned the tutorials. Those are really easy if you're in the, if we end up continuing with this virtual model here a little bit in the fall, you can post these Scratch tutorials on your Google Classroom page or share them with your students however you communicate with them, and then they can teach themselves and then give them a project idea. It's a great extension activity to be creative with what they've learned. Okay. I saw some questions, some chat things plop in. Let's see. Oh, awesome. Yeah, go ahead and share. Is it Lynn, Alan? Okay, so Lynn's gonna take over a second.
All right, I kind of remembered this. I mentioned this in the last one that I did this in college a couple of years ago, but I totally forgot that you have to wait a second. So technically I was telling it to spin the 90 degrees, but it was doing it all at the same time. So it'll go through my whole thing.
So you're saying that you need to use the wait block.
Yes. and I just did and it spins.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was doing it simultaneously, and so we weren't able to like actually see it go.
Right. Okay.
Hold on, let me stop sharing.
I don't know if you ever started. I think I was.
Oh, yes, okay. That would probably be why it's not letting me stop. So if I go, let me see if I can just go here. If it'll let me do it.
So you added the wait 1 second
Yes.
block in between
Yes,
each
right.
of you. Slow motion flip. I love it.
Yes. All right, there I go.
Yay, thank you. So maybe that'll help Mr. Sutherland too. He's clapping. All right, Regina, I don't have specific high school ones. Hopefully on those websites, they are K through 12. I am not a high school person, so I didn't have actual examples that I've done, but definitely explore those two resource links that I shared with you. And yes, all of the links, I'm just sharing my whole presentation. So here's the link to the presentation part, and then you'll have all the links within them. Okay, I'm going to share one more time. And again, 1 hour for, whoops, what is going on? There we go. 1 hour for this content is really fast, so I'm sorry we're flowing and super fast paced with everything, but it's just meant to kind of dip your toe in a little bit and then give you something to go off of after this. But with that, I wanted to remind you, I know that we talked about it a little bit in the beginning, but CodeVA has some awesome courses available throughout the summer, and they are all remote this summer. So we're kind of revamping the curriculum for that. But all of the elementary ones are here on the left, and then these are more of your middle school and high school courses on the right. So notice programming using Scratch is one of them. So we take a little bit of a deeper dive into what we did today. And then I linked, so this gives you, I pasted all the courses, but this gives you a little bit of a better description of all of these courses if you click on that link. And then this is our registration link. And it does take a few seconds for the registration form to load. So be patient with that, but we hope that you'll join us for more sessions here coming up in the future. So this is all of my information. I did a terrible job of introducing myself at the beginning. This is my first year with CodeVA. I'm an ITRT with Lynchburg City Schools. So you guys are my first actual CodeVA session that I've led. So thank you for being the guinea pigs. But there's the bit.ly again to this presentation. And then this is my CodeVA email address and my Twitter handle. And I'm going to turn it back over. I guess I'll keep sharing, but I'll turn it back over to Jessie.
Well, thank you, Allison. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I will add a note. So if you go to register for a CodeVA training, since they were the back end for our CSTA SOVA, these sessions, registrations, you'll be partway done already. You'll just have to, I think, glance through your information, change anything that needs to be changed, and then just select the courses you want to do. So you won't have to re-enter in all your stuff. You're like, I don't know, 80% of the way there, registered already. If you have any questions regarding the training at codevirginia.org will answer questions that you have about a specific course, but please feel free to contact Allison or myself, and if we don't know the answer ourselves, I'm sure we can pass you along to someone who does know for that particular content area, since it does cover a wide spectrum, K through 12 in the summer sessions. I do want to encourage you to join the SOVA CSTA chapter. We've sort of kickstarted things with these 3 topics, the intro to CS first, the get started with Scratch, and next the Finch robots. We're taking a break over kind of the summer months, just given the other professional development available to us through CSTA National and through Code Virginia. But then we really want to bring training opportunities to you, our region, that are requested. So if you become a CSTA member, which is free to join, the basic membership, then you can kind of help inform us on what sessions you'd like to be involved in and what things you'd like to be learning about. So if you've heard about a cool resource that you'd like to learn how to use, I'm sure, right, there are other people in our region who would also be interested in learning with you. And so we really are hoping that the SOVA CSTA chapter will become a way for us to collaborate together and then to get some professional development opportunities that we may not be able to do within our own school district, but collectively as a regional chapter we can do. With that, I would like to say that if anyone wants to stick around and chat or has questions about Scratch or just other resources, last week, the time we met, I know things came up about like Girls Who Code. There were questions about some robotics club, sponsorship and or questions. So we do want to make sure that we're providing a space for everyone to network with each other. If there are specific topics that begin to emerge, I'm happy to set up breakouts and we could pop into a breakout session about a particular topic. But please don't feel the need to rush away. We know we're all social distancing, and so some of us I know may be missing our professional networks and being in to check in with each other. So I'll keep the meeting open for a little bit if you have questions and want to pop them in the chat, or if you'd like to unmute yourself and just talk with other adults about professional things, please feel free to hang out with us for a few minutes.
Hey, Jessie, there was a question about once we have attended the 3 sessions, will we receive a completion certificate?
We can certainly provide completion certificates. Given that it's only 3 hours, I'm not sure how your individual school would handle that for CEUs. Generally, those have to be, I think it's a minimum of 6, 6.5, 5. Sheldon's saying 5. So maybe we'll make sure we do 2 more in the fall, 2 one-hour sessions, and then you'll have your 5.
And if anyone's curious about Girls Who Code, I started a club this year. So when you said that, I was like, oh, I didn't even talk about that at all.
I think we had some folks who were in the session who are running clubs now, and then I think we had some others who are interested in getting them started.
Yay, awesome.
Yes. I have a quick question. I was late getting in because the change in the link went to my junk mail. I'm sorry. And I was sitting on the other one. Checked in. No, that's okay. Zoom has been crazy lately. But my question is, if I use the address that you gave me over there in the notes, I can see this whole presentation over, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. I have to zip back because I've got another Zoom with my students. So, yeah. Okay.
Have fun. You too.
And I did remember to record this one this time. So yes, you can actually see it with Allison's instruction. I'll send out the recording to everyone. Also,
great. Are you going to email that?
Yes,
to us?
I will.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
I had a question about the, is it the fundamentals course, the CodeVA?
Yes, I don't know if I'll be able to answer it, but yes.
Well, I was really glad when I saw Scratch. I realized this is what we've been doing with robotics, with FTC robotics for a few years, and FLL. Of course, we're talking about, instead of Sprits, we're talking about motors and wheels and that sort of stuff. But I haven't had any other kind of programming experience, and I was just trying to figure out, would that fundamental course be something that I would be okay with, or is it a good transition, or what?
I have not honestly seen the curriculum for that one. I would go to that website where it has the course descriptions, and it will tell you And I might be able to get there if I can get out of this full screen for you real quick.
Those courses are free for members?
Free for all educators, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Which one were you asking about? Foundations? Computer science foundations?
Yeah, I'm in high school, and
Okay.
I was trying to figure out where I should jump in, or should I just leave it alone?
Yeah, no.
Because you know, it says computer science, and I've not taught computer science. I've used technology and technology education and engineering and that sort of stuff. And the only other program I've done is with the this block programming that we've done with FLL and FTC for years.
Okay.
So I haven't had the other kind, and I was just trying to figure out where should I jump in, or is that something I should probably leave alone? Or
It says this is an introductory level course, helping to prepare students for future study in a variety of fields. So computer science, cybersecurity, web design, and networking. So it's kind of an all-encompassing thing. So I don't know if you're looking for that,
is it for teachers,
kind of spread out.
Is it for teachers?
So the CS Foundations is going to be, the training obviously is for teachers, but it's going to give you the curriculum and background to teach what's generally called CS Foundations as a course. I think it used to be called Exploring Computer Science, so it's an elective course. Now there are certainly teachers who don't teach, an elective, a high school level elective computer science course that take it and then use it, like you said, in these other robotics leagues or other things. If you're looking for a little more kind of specific computer science or just like coding practice, then one of those like programming with Scratch or the programming with Python would be a little more on the programming focus side, versus this is going to provide you with the curriculum and kind of how to teach the full course. But you can take whatever pieces of that you wish and leave what you don't.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much.
Sheldon, I just wanted to say my name is Sonia, and I've taught an FLL team, coached a team, and then taken some of these Code Virginia classes and actually moved up to teaching some. And you have a good foundation for your FFL, has given you a great foundation for this programming in Scratch.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Sonia.
Encouraged. When I look on the calendar and I see my age, and then I hear the new stuff, I'm ready for the new stuff. My body says, "You sure?" So thanks for the encouragement.